All right, welcome to Get Real with Chris and Mark. In this episode, we're actually going to talk about credit, how credit works, how you can improve your credit, the negative things that can impact your credit, how you can save, and how you can be a millionaire if you tune in till the end.
All right, so today we're talking about credit, huh?
Credit, that's right.
Credit. It's like almost like a bad word, right?
Well, it is credit. A bad word. So I think we'll talk a little bit about credit. We'll see how the time goes, and maybe we'll roll into budgeting, which I think is associated with that. But credit, so buy now, pay later, right?
I think a lot of us are using that right now.
There's
a lot of credit going on right now.
Yeah, well, I think there's good credit and there's bad credit. People are like, oh, yeah, of course, like my credit's bad or my credit's good. Right. But what I mean by that is there's the good use of credit and the bad use of credit. Right.
Right. I mean, those basically give you your score, right? If you're
to some extent. I mean, obviously, if you're abusing it, right. Then that typically translates to a lower score. Yeah. But what I wanted to talk about was how do we understand credit? How does credit actually work, right? And then how can you actually repair or fix your credit?
I've had lots of lenders that have helped in transactions over the years.
Yep.
And it's amazing how sometimes they go, okay, all we have to do is do this and your credit score is going to go up this many points.
Right.
And they know.
So I've been very fortunate to have been trained by a local lender in the subject pretty well throughout the years, and it's given me an understanding. So first things first, I think for the purposes of this, because it's our expertise, I'm going to use the example of on the real estate side, what does a good recipe for credit look like? So if you're looking to establish credit, some folks have no credit.
Well, a lot of people.
I can't tell you.
It's amazing.
How many times do you get the guy that's like, well, I've never had a credit card. I pay everything in cash. I've never borrowed anything. And it's like, oh, great, you can't buy a house.
You can't buy a house yet.
So in those cases, you need to establish credit. Right. So if you're looking to establish credit, the best ways to do that, and the recipe that most lenders look for, is 1 or 2 credit cards and 1 or 2 installment lines, right?
Right.
So preferably at least 1 installment line, at least 1 credit card.
Explain an installment line.
So an installment line would be like a car loan, or maybe you consolidated debt and you're making a payment on something regularly. It could be like a camper that you're paying on, a personal loan that you took out. It's a loan that you're paying flat monthly over a term. So that's an installment loan. So the reason why they want to see this is they want to see that you have a habit of paying things back over time. Because essentially, whenever you're qualifying for a mortgage, that's what you're going to do. You're going to pay something back over time.
30 years, you're going to be paying
30 years. So first things first, for those of you that don't know, there's 3 different credit bureaus, right? So we have TransUnion, Experian, and Equifax. Yeah, I think Experian is probably the big one that has really taken over a lot of the world. When most people pull. But in the mortgage world, you have to. Your credit is based off of what's called your middle score.
Right.
So what they do is they look at all 3. They throw out the low one, they throw out the high one, and that's the score that they use. So going back to this, you're establishing, you get 1 credit card, you get 1 installment loan like a car loan. If you do that over time, your credit will be impeccable. It's that simple. Now, where do we go wrong?
Right.
Where do people typically go wrong?
Well, overcharging and over-crediting themselves.
Right. They overborrow. That's the bad credit, evil credit.
Yeah, because you have so much, and it's not a positive sign, especially in real estate, to the mortgage companies. It's not a positive sign that you're going to be able to maintain a consistent service.
And not just mortgage companies, but also, rentals.
Yeah,
so,
for sure.
You need to qualify for a rental too. Let's face it, if you have a credit score below 600,
it's tough.
It's hard to find a place to live anywhere. So this is a really, really important topic. So I like to use my own personal experiences, right? So my first experience was a credit card. So I was 18 years old. I was hanging out in college, walked into Circuit City.
Circuit City.
Remember those? So walked into Circuit City. They had this awesome 50-inch screen TV with the Ambilight.
You were 18.
You remember the lights
mark.
behind it?
If it was 50.
It was a 50. It was $5,000. All right.
Oh, okay.
But no interest credit card, baby.
Right.
So that was my first experience with a credit card.
Yes, I
got approved. I got what I wanted. Buy now, pay later. So, unfortunately, today, a lot of folks are living their lives that way.
Yeah.
And they're living their lives that way, for lack of better words, to keep up with the Joneses, right? So I'm going to get the Louis Vuitton bag. I'm going to get the Jimmy Choo shoes, the red bottoms, all that kind of stuff. And honestly, for me personally, typically when I see somebody kind of wearing all that stuff or doing all that stuff, I know that there's a good chance that you're going to see some credit card debt.
I'll interfere a little bit. There are a lot of people that do need it for their day-to-day life, right? Like, so, I mean, there's...
As a buffer?
Yeah.
Cool. We'll visit that. We'll visit that.
I definitely think we should, because, I mean, I know there's people that abuse it, right, for frivolous things, but there's a lot of people that do it just to sometimes pay for groceries that month, right? You know what I mean? Because they had a slow month, so didn't get the hours.
That's one of two things.
Yeah.
So it's budgeting.
Yeah.
Right? Or maybe it's just the income. Maybe they've had a drop off in employment, like you mentioned. But either way, it boils back to budgeting. And the reason why I say that is there are folks out there, you can find them on YouTube, that can literally break down to you how you can live in an incredibly, and I mean incredibly frugal fashion, to the point that you only spend $1 or $2 on a meal, right?
Right. So I've seen these,
It's possible.
It is possible.
It's whether or not you choose to be disciplined
I get that.
enough to do that.
Yeah, no, I get it. Yeah.
So going back to this, so we talked about, overextending, right?
Yeah.
So that's what tends to happen. But let's talk about how those things impact your credit. All right. So if you have a credit card, typically you're issued a what?
What do you mean? You're issued
a limit.
Oh, a credit limit. Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Credit limit, a cap on what you can borrow. Now that is the golden thing right there. That's the biggest thing to pay attention to.
That's the number.
Because here's the thing: if you have $1,000 credit card, and you have $1,000 balance, that is hurting your credit score by as much as 70 points.
Right.
And it skews back in the other direction. You can actually get a positive impact by 70 points by keeping it below 10% of that limit. So if you have a $1,000 credit card, if you keep it below 10% or below $100, if that's where the balance stays when it reports to the credit agency on a monthly basis, it actually helps your score by 70 points.
Yeah.
So let me tell you, if you're over that limit, between over the limit and under 10%, there's a 140-point skew.
Usually. Yeah.
In your credit score.
Yeah.
It could be as much as.
Right.
Like if that's the only credit card that you have and you're overextended, could be 140 points.
Could be, yeah.
The other thing is collections. So, a lot of folks, let's say that you didn't pay a bill, and a lot of times it's like a cable bill.
Right.
Like
whatever it is, right?
Years ago, it's cable bill.
Medical bill or something
I didn't
like
pay
that.
it, and I just stopped getting notices. Everybody stopped calling.
Thought it went away, right?
Well, it's hanging out as a collection against you.
It's your skeleton.
And in some it's your skeleton in your closet.
Yeah, right.
In some cases, it's $250.
Right.
You got this collection there. That collection can hurt you by 70 points on your credit score.
Yeah.
So you might have everything's perfect, but you got this collection from 5 years ago that you don't even realize is there, and it's hurting you.
I would say this. I mean, if you're, make sure you talk to somebody professional that can, because sometimes paying it all off or making payments can actually,
So what you don't want to do is you don't want to close things out.
Right.
A lot of people think, I'm going to pay this off and I'm going to close the account. Well, closing an account, you're eliminating all your credit history.
All your credit history.
So you don't want to do that. I mean, I've had people do that in the past where they close all their accounts and they're like, all right, I paid it all off. I shut it all down. It's like, okay, cool. You can't borrow anything.
Right. You don't have any way of buying.
Right. So, I often try to tell people, when they come and they're looking to purchase a home, especially because they're like, oh, my credit's good. I know it's good. I make my payments on time. I'm like, you need to pull your report and see.
Yeah, look at it.
Because if you haven't looked, there may be something looming in the background.
I literally just had somebody yesterday, this exact same thing happened to, right? They assumed they told me they had a 750 credit score.
Right.
Right? And they're lucky if they got 650.
Yep.
Because they didn't look at their credit report.
And they happen to have
some
a collection,
or two on there that they didn't even know, and then there's that.
Here's the good news. You pay a collection off, it'll bounce back pretty quickly.
Away, yeah.
30 to 60 days, your credit score's back up.
Mm-hmm.
You pay your credit card down to below that 10% threshold. It'll shoot your credit score up.
As you pay it down, your score will. So if you can't pay it down in one
it'll improve over time.
It improves over time. Yeah.
Yeah. So we talked about that 70 swing.
Right.
There's point differentials in between that.
Right. Exactly.
As you pay it down through that spectrum.
Yeah.
Essentially, if you're at 50%, it's not hurting you. It's not helping you.
Right.
It's a good way to look at it.
Yeah.
But with that said, so those are the two most common things that you see.
Yeah.
Now the other thing that we see is lates.
Yeah.
Right. So let's say you fell on hard times
and
you decided, or you forgot,
yeah.
and you decided that you were going to miss a car payment. Well, look, lates can only be healed with time.
Right.
And the downfall is they never go away. So going back to if you're looking.
No, I know. They're on my report all over the place. Right.
Yeah.
I've been through that.
Well, yeah. Yeah. They go back, I think, at least 7 years.
7, 8 now. Yeah.
Yeah. So
sometimes more than that.
So with that said, you have that late payment. If it's an accident, you need to plead with whatever company that is to not put it on your credit report or to get it removed, because it wouldn't hurt your score negatively. Again, it's something that can only be healed with time. Now, I don't know how much each late payment hits you. I've never been educated on what that looks like.
I mean, this is based on buying a house, though. I mean,
right?
I mean,
but it's all about score.
It is.
It's all about score. So
I want to stress again, though, it's important. Don't assume what we say
is correct.
Is exactly right. Talk to we want you to talk to a lender, because they may be able to do things differently that you and I can't do,
even when you talk to a mortgage lender, they're going to tell you that they're not a credit professional. This is not what they do for a living. They're going to give you that spiel. But be careful too if you go to a quote unquote credit professional,
right?
Because there's a lot of scams out there. You need to really make sure that you're with a legitimate company.
That's why I say if you've got a plan and you're trying to let's say for this instance you're trying to buy a home, right? It's always best to get with the lender first and let them steer you to those kinds of companies.
Yeah,
because at the end of the day, they're trying to get you into the house too, right? So it matters.
So again, that's talking about buying a house. Now, obviously, how do you manage your credit in the meantime? You don't do those things.
Right.
You make sure you pay your stuff on time.
Right.
Keep your balances on your credit cards low.
Right.
It would be better for you to have 10 credit cards that were all at 10% of the amount than having one that's maxed out,
yeah.
right? Now, granted, if you have 10, that's still going to reflect poorly, but not as poor if they are all or one of them is maxed out. Now, the key is don't max out your credit cards.
Right.
Easier said than done.
No, right.
But in order to do that, you have to have a savings. How do you have a savings? You have to have restraint. So I have this conversation, with friends of mine, and some people come to me and say, hey, I want to get on the track of, buying a rental property, or I want to get on the track of building wealth for myself. How do I do that? Well, you have to have restraint.
Yeah. You
know what that means? Earn now, buy later.
Buy later, yeah. It's funny. I listened to some of the guys on the Ken Coleman's and those guys all talk about. It looks like it's so far out when you want to buy it, but the truth is, if you save for a couple years, and then you go to buy a house or whatever it is you want to buy, your investment property, whatever it is, I mean, you're going to be in such a better position when you do that. Just for that, if you're diligent and disciplined, then at the end you're going to have a much better position when you in a couple years, and it seems like forever.
But the problem is we live in this Amazon instant gratification, got to keep up with the Joneses kind of world, where everybody wants to buy the newest pair of Nikes. Everybody wants to drive the nicest vehicle, and if you want to learn how to be wealthy, it's about sacrifice. It's about not feeding all of your inner desires today. So that you can have a leg to stand on tomorrow, or you can borrow to buy a house tomorrow, or you can take your money and now invest it into other things that not only are going to help you in retirement, but also you could leave a legacy for your family. It's scary because I forget the statistic. Somebody told me the other day, the amount of potential baby boomers that don't have retirement savings. And we're on it. Especially in a world where everybody's living longer. We're in an impeding crisis, because I truly believe that a lot of people in their 40s and 50s right now do not have enough money to retire.
I know, and you're gonna, Social Security is a lottery.
Yeah.
If
it's still there,
it's a crapshoot. That's what I'm saying. Whether you even have it.
That's probably one of the greatest things looming in the background of this country right now that could truly break us. Because, in some cases, I'll come across folks that, let's say that they have $300,000 in their IRA or their 401k. And, they're thinking that they're going to retire in the next 5 years. And it's like, okay, well, you're 55, you're going to retire at 60 or 62 and a half or whatever it is. You might live to 80. How are you going to survive?
Right.
I mean, do the math.
Doesn't work.
$300,000 over 20 years, what is that, $15,000 a year?
Maybe.
It's $15,000 a year. You're not going to be able to survive on that. Now, you can supplement with
whatever,
with Social Security and whatever else is coming in. Maybe you work a side job, but that's the scary thing. Why am I saying this, and why am I piggybacking this on the credit conversation? Because I think that a lot of our young people need to hear the credit conversation, right? And our young people need to hear and know that $300,000 isn't enough for you to retire on, and you need to start working on that right now. And how do you do it right now? You sacrifice those extra things that you want now. And the most golden nugget that I will give you.
For later. Yeah.
For later. Most golden nugget that I would give you if you are young, you're in your 20s, you're listening to this. Let's say you're making $40 or $50 or $60 or $70,000 right now, right? Your income is going to go up over time. Currently, as of today, you are alive, you are surviving, you are eating, you are living, right? So now you may be over your means and you might need to dial that back in the meantime.
Right.
But the next few pay raises that you get, all of that needs to be designated towards your retirement savings. Right. The beautiful thing is
not a new jet ski.
Not a new jet ski. The beautiful thing is, just like with the new jet ski, once you've bought it and you start making the payments, you get used to making the payments. Once you start putting the maximum amount of money into your 401k, your lifestyle doesn't change.
Right.
And that's the problem that we have in America, is everybody's lifestyle changes as their income goes up, instead of their savings changing as part of that. So if you're young, and if you can take your next $20,000 in pay raises and designate it for your 401k, this is the best bit of advice that you'll ever get in your entire life. If you do that, you will be a millionaire. Maybe multi-millionaire, depending on your age.
You will be, in short order, actually.
Yeah.
It doesn't take that long.
Less time than you think.
Yeah.
I forget what the
I was trying to think of it too.
Of how much? I think it's only like $200 a month that you have to save.
Yeah, it is, something like that.
Which, that's only $2,400 a year. So if that's the case, then it's a 10x to that.
So you're talking about $10 million.
Potentially. Yes. Put $20,000 a year into your 401k for the rest of your life, and you'll be set.
Yeah.
Was that fun?
No, that was fun.
Anything else?
Well-rehearsed, planned.
It's scene rehearsed, but it only took us 45 minutes to come up with that topic.
I know, right?
So hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Yeah, I'm passionate about savings and finances, and I just want to see people be successful and make the right decisions. And it breaks my heart when I see families that are overextended. And if you're trying to find a way out, seek the resources that can help you. That doesn't mean call me or Chris. You can talk to a mortgage lender, talk to a credit professional, and look, ultimately, if you're not going to talk to anybody else, then call us. We'll help you too.
Yep, we'll help you find something right.
So, Chris,
where
can they find us?
Today, you can find us on thebaynet.com/podcast. I see you threw me right at me again, right? You can find us on thebaynet.com/podcast. You can find us on Spotify. You can find us on Facebook, on the Baynet Facebook page. You can find us on, where else, Mark?
Amazon
Music, anything
else.
And
just Google Get Real with Chris and Mark.
Perfect. So you should have been saying that.
Yeah.